Let me get the commentators in first. First, Aarti, what did you think of Sonia Gandhi's speech? There were a lot of things that I thought that she was very blunt about the fact that they're losing ground, the fact that they need to connect to young people, that there is a disillusioned middle class that they can't lose out on, disunity, indiscipline in the party. She sort of seemed to flag all the problems that they have, though she didn't really seem to offer solutions.
I think that was the big problem. You know, a lot of what she said was, I mean, her speech was full of truisms, and many of these she has said before, at Shimla in 2003, at Burari in 2010, you know, issues like corruption, organizational problems, the lack of unity, you know, these are all issues she's flagged in the past. Now, the point is, what I would have expected her to do was to throw some ideas into the ring which could be put up for discussion. I know she didn't want to preempt the discussions, but the fact is that as leader of the Congress party, you know, you expect your leader to throw up some ideas so that there can be a debate on those ideas. What she did was just flag the challenges which we all know.
Ashok?
I found it a defensive speech, more defensive than I imagined it would be. There are two things. One, if you look at 2009, you know, if you look at the 5-year cycle, you won an election in 2009, and there was a presumption in the Congress that it could perhaps even come to power on its own in 2014. I think this speech finally recognized and acknowledged that, you know, it's far from happening, and so the past 4 years have seen setbacks and failures. Second, in acknowledging the rise of the aspirational middle classes and the urban vote, to my mind, for the first time in a long time, a senior Congress person actually acknowledged that there is a problem with urban India. Because so far the Congress has seen itself as a rural poor, a party for the rural poor. And that was its campaign in, say, UP, for instance. It completely ignored the urban vote. It didn't bother about it. Now it realizes that in this new India, where about maybe 150 or 200 seats are largely urban in the Lok Sabha election, they have a problem coming.
But, you know, Mr. Kedwai, I mean, is it a defensive speech or is it a candid speech? It depends on how you look at it.
I think it's a combination of the two, but you know, the most burning issues of the day have been left out. For instance, she didn't talk about anything about price rise. She didn't talk about Narendra Modi, not in terms of just his success in a particular state election, but its implications on national politics and the issue of secularism, which probably would come under strain. And since it's a cornerstone of Congress politics, then, you know, I found it very surprising that she did not dwell upon that aspect at all. She didn't talk about Naxals, she didn't talk about smaller states. So issues of the day are not highlighted, and if they're not highlighted, then congressmen would not debate about it. So this is something that I found missing.
Of course, I mean, I think if she had flagged every issue that was on our wish list, she might have talked for 3 or 4 hours. But Sanjay Jha, how do you respond to the criticism the commentators at least have to Mrs. Gandhi's speech, that it didn't go far enough, it was too defensive, it didn't touch on some of the more substantive issues? How do you look at it?
Nidhi, firstly, in a conference of this kind where people get together to discuss how to look at solutions to a problem, when you flag off the beginning of the conference, you're not offering solutions. That will be almost autocratic. That will be like saying, hey, listen, we are meeting for 3 days. These are the problems and these are the solutions we need to agree on. I mean, she's just setting the broad agenda. If anybody in the panel was expecting solutions, I think that would defeat the very purpose of the congregation in Jaipur. The second point is that I think, there's a lot of talk about the fact that, is the Congress is losing the middle class. For example, the 13 seats is swept in Mumbai and Delhi. But I think when you talk of issues like corruption or price rise or greater transparency or the need for better GDP growth and employment, I think that cuts across all levels of society.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.